At the beginning of the story, we are shown a small kingdom called Iceni where people lived in peace and harmony. However, this is the time when the Roman Empire had captured almost America after the war. This kingdom used to belong to America, but until now the Roman Empire had not captured it. After the scene is cut, you can see the atmosphere of war in a kingdom near Iceni. Roman soldiers were killing the innocent people here, and in this bad condition, all these people pray to God for the arrival of a goddess who will come to help them. And Roman soldiers say, "See, that day will come soon when a queen will come and save us from your cruelty." This was very strange. The Roman soldier's general immediately goes out and tells this to his king, who was angry after hearing the whole story. That's why he immediately orders to kill all the powerful women of this empire, especially those women who could compete with him. More than that, maybe he was afraid of his defeat. Anyway, on the other hand, Iceni's general also had bad news for his kingdom, which was that the Roman Empire is sending a new general here. Surely he will not do any good to them. They will have to be ready for any difficulty now. At this time, the king's wife, Boudica, had just left to go with her daughters. On the way, she sees the corpses of the pillared trees. Boudica's daughters get scared, so Boudica tells them, "Don't be afraid, surely these must be the people who must have done something bad." Then cutting off Boudica's words, he says to Boudica's wife, "No, their only fault is that they are Christians, because the Romans don't like Christians. That's why they killed them." Anyway, these people come to the market while walking, where the people of the other tribe. As soon as they see Boudica, they all suddenly bowed to her. They were calling her goddess Boudica. Boudica was shocked. She could not understand what was happening. A Roman soldier also sees all this. He considers Boudica a powerful woman. As soon as he comes to kill her on his king's order, he forcibly tells her that the girl who had bowed to Boudica first quickly took out her sword and separates the man's hand. The next second, she separates the head of this fallen man. That is, she killed this Roman soldier, and this was a big sin from her. These people knew that now the Roman army would come here to take revenge, isn't it? They all run away from here, but now the Roman soldiers go after the queen. That is, after Boudica. The king talks to the Roman soldiers to save Boudica's life. These soldiers also agreed to spare Boudica's life, but on one condition, which was that Boudica would definitely be punished. And that punishment was that Boudica could not leave the palace for a whole year. After leaving all this, Boudica talks to her husband, that is, the king. She tells him all the stories that happened in the market, and she asks, "I didn't understand one thing. Why did they call me goddess?" The king replies, "Maybe because you are from the bloodline of barbarians." Barbarians, that is, the bravest soldiers in the world. The next day, like a routine, Boudica was playing with her daughters, with a wooden fake sword, which the king was happy to see. The king thought that maybe Boudica doesn't know how to use a sword. After the death of his daughters, as soon as he starts teaching Boudica how to use a sword, then Boudica very cleverly attacks him with her fake sword. The king didn't understand either. Suddenly he was caught by Boudica, and seeing this move, the king understood that Boudica is very powerful, and as he is thinking that Boudica doesn't know how to use a sword, he was wrong. He now brings Boudica to his room, and takes out a sword in front of him. This sword was not given to him by Boudica's father. This was not an ordinary sword, but a sword of barbarians. The most special thing about this sword was that it was the sword of goddess Boudica, which was made with the help of a lot of magic. The next day, the Roman general comes to Iceni, about whom the king had already heard from his general. Despite being enemies, all the people here give so much respect to the Roman general, as if he is a very special guest. But that general was less understanding than these insects. For now, he leaves from here. But the king had already known that his intentions were not good. That's why he decides to attack the Romans' high platoon with his general before the Roman soldier attacks their kingdom, so that he can save his kingdom. He prepares his army at night and goes to war. This war was very heavy. The Roman soldiers were strong, and these people did not have much weapons. But these people do not lose hope, and thus the war is won. These people won the war, but they paid a very high price for winning the war. The kingdom returns and gives bad news to General Boudica, that the king is no longer in this world. This news had broken Boudica badly. Such a big shock. Now there was no one to take care of this kingdom. That's why Boudica makes herself strong, and takes care of all the responsibilities of her kingdom. As soon as the Romans find out about ruling her kingdom, the general goes to her the next day. She is told that no woman can rule the Romans' kingdom, in any kingdom, and Boudica did this and committed a very big crime. In return for his punishment, now all his kingdom was in the hands of the Romans. Not only this, Boudica is given a worse punishment than this. In front of all the people of her kingdom, taking off her royal clothes, the Roman soldiers attach her with tree and start beating her, and no one standing here can do anything for their queen, for their Boudica. Boudica was badly injured and unconscious. It was night, and we see that someone suddenly attacks the Romans sitting in the ice chamber. These were the same people who considered Boudica a goddess. They fight all the Roman soldiers here and save Boudica and take her from here. Boudica is treated in her kingdom. As soon as she comes to her senses, she first asks about her daughters, and she is given bad news that her daughters were killed in the Battle of Cordo, and in such a big trauma, Boudica loses her consciousness again. Many days pass, and then one day Boudica comes out of the tent after recovering, where she sees that the children were learning to fight with fake swords. These children also had daughters who looked exactly like their daughters. These girls tell Boudica that the people of their kingdom consider her a goddess. These people believe that you will save us from the Romans. Boudica, whose love was killed by the Romans, whose kingdom the Romans had taken, she herself gets ready to take revenge on the Romans, and she herself starts practicing. Somewhere she also thought that she would fight the Romans. Seeing her training, the people here give her the same sword that the king had given her some time ago. Boudica was looking at this sword. That here comes the journal of another kingdom, whose name is Wolfgard. The Romans had also attacked the kingdom of Wolfgard. He also wanted to fight the Romans. That's why all these kingdom people were meeting each other, so that they can easily defeat the Romans by making a big army. This man, when he sees Boudica as his leader, then he starts insulting her, and the rest of the people say that I will not fight for a girl. She is also a girl who does not know how to fight herself. Here he takes his sword from Boudica's hand and makes fun of her, and throws it in the river behind. As soon as he sees his sword falling in the river, Boudica quickly jumps into the water. She did not know how to swim. She did not come out of the water for a long time. The people here started thinking that she must have died, but then suddenly Boudica comes back here with her sword, and seeing her courage and bravery, Wolfgard, who was insulting her earlier, he also gets impressed with her, and agrees to work with her. Everyone bows down to him in his respect. It is night and we see that everyone is doing a ritual with Boudica, in which Boudica was considered their goddess, and Boudica swears in front of all these people that she will take her land, her kingdom back from the Romans. Boudica is informed that in the next 2 days, a very large platoon of the Romans will come out of her kingdom, that is, a group of their soldiers. Boudica decides to attack those soldiers, but Wolfgard refuses to support Boudica, because he knew that those soldiers would be in large numbers. There are more chances of losing them. He tells Boudica that I can't put my soldiers' lives in danger. As soon as he hears this, Boudica decides to attack them alone. Now Boudica alone went ahead to fight those soldiers with her loyal people, but then she sees that Wolfgard has also come to help her with all his soldiers. Seeing this, Boudica was very happy. Finally, now the Roman army was also in front of her. These people attack this army. We see that in this army, there was also Boudica's old journal. He goes ahead to talk to Boudica, but Boudica does not recognize him, and kills him thinking he is a Roman soldier. In anger, Boudica had lost control of herself. She was again and again taking out her anger by shooting a sword in this man's stomach. On the other hand, the soldiers of Wolfgard were fighting the Roman soldiers, who had succeeded in defeating the Romans to a great extent. These people attache the heads of the Roman soldiers and make them their weapon of victory, and also loot all their belongings. After this war, there was peace in their kingdom for a long time. We see that some people have come to meet Boudica. They tell Boudica that you will have to do some rituals to become a complete goddess, in which they make Boudica drink the phone of humans and do other strange things. The leader of these people tells Boudica that your death is near. You have to do a lot before you die. It is known that Boudica still had her daughters Viennese. The words of this woman bring Boudica out of those Viennese, and make her believe that her family has been killed. And after this realization, Boudica was very sick. But Boudica did not have the courage to lose now. She could not stay sick like this. Her life's purpose was to fight the Romans. That's why she prepares a very large army, and attacks a city called Camellia, where the Romans had killed the common innocent citizens, and now there were only Roman soldiers in that city. In this attack by Boudica, many Roman soldiers are killed, after which Boudica sets the city on fire. In the joy of Boudica's victory, the next morning, all the soldiers of Boudica make the same mark on their faces as Boudica had made on her face. although they did not know that the mark on her face was the mark of slavery, which was made by the Romans. When Boudica asks them, "Do you know what this mark means?" Then the soldiers tell her that we are not so educated. But yes, we know that by making this mark, we are making your identity ours. After hearing all this, Boudica was feeling very powerful. She decides to attack London now, where there were the most Roman soldiers. These people make a very large army and attack London too. Here too, Boudica's soldiers showed courage. They had killed many Roman soldiers, and this war was also won. After all these attacks, the power of the Romans was decreasing here. Now the Romans were also in danger of losing their lives. That's why the Romans started to protest against their own king. They burn the buildings and it becomes a new scene of destruction here. In all this chaos, now the Romans generals come to the king of Rome to ask him what to do next. Will the war be declared? How will they fight? But in response to all this, the king says, "I don't know. I am not a warrior who knows how the war will be. I am a musician. I only know how to sing, and I can't handle all these things." As soon as he says this, he feels of his hand. That is, he had given his life. The news of the king's death had reached Britain. Wolfgard, that is, Boudica's general, knew that the authorities would not sit quietly now. They will definitely come to take revenge. That's why he tells Boudica that we should disappear for a while, and then after a while, we will make an even bigger army and attack again. But Boudica doesn't want to stop now. She just wants to finish the Romans, even if she has to pay any price for it. In response, Wolfgard says, "I can't risk my soldiers' lives again and again. If you want to fight now, you will have to go alone." Boudica's decision was firm. She goes to war with only one tribe. But this time, the Romans had also come fully prepared for the war. This time it was not easy to fight them. Boudica's army was being killed. The Romans kill many of Boudica's soldiers with a trap laid by themselves. Boudica's army and strength are reduced, after which the Romans began to overpower her. At this time, a Roman soldier attacks her and she falls down. She was in a lot of pain, but she did not want to die helpless. She gets up again with courage. She had to fight until she had her last breath. They were very close to losing. That's when she hears the voice of Wolfgard from behind. Wolfgard had come to Boudica's aid for his companions. Here the war begins again, in which Boudica's people were going to win the war. While fighting, Boudica gets a message from his daughters. She was saying to Wolfgard that whatever you do, you have to die in the end. His aviance distract him from fighting, and in this way, he gets an arrow. Seeing Boudica fall, it was like a golden opportunity for the Roman soldiers. All of them, together, stabbed Boudica with swords, killing her. Boudica was dead, and before she died, she spent good moments with her family. Whether Boudica won the war or not, it was not told, but in the post-credits scene of the story, we are told that Boudica's story was real. Even today, the statue of Boudica and her daughters is in London, showing which the movie